A residential alley after midnight often contains a predictable pattern of small disturbances. Trash bins placed near fences are sometimes shifted slightly out of alignment. Lightweight lids are pushed slightly open. Paper food packaging may appear scattered near the base of a curb. These changes usually appear overnight, after pedestrian activity has faded and vehicle traffic has declined. One of the animals frequently responsible for this pattern is the skunk. The behavior is not random wandering. It reflects a stable foraging pattern shaped by environmental constraints and survival trade-offs. Skunks that appear in residential areas at night are responding to conditions that rarely exist during the day. Daytime streets contain moving vehicles, pedestrians, domestic dogs, and continuous human activity. Each of these increases the chance of disturbance. For a ground-dwelling mammal that moves slowly and relies heavily on scent rather than speed, daylight environments contain too many interruptions. Night reduces those interruptions. Human movement declines, visual detection becomes more difficult, and noise levels drop. These changes create a period when the cost of moving between food sources becomes lower. The timing of skunk foraging, therefore, reflects constraint rather than preference. Skunks are not fast animals. Their bodies are low to the ground, with short legs and limited endurance for sustained running. When threatened, their primary defense is warning display, followed by chemical deterrence rather than rapid escape. That strategy works against many predators, but it still depends on avoiding repeated encounters with larger animals. Moving through residential areas during the day would increase those encounters. Night movement reduces them. Residential neighborhoods also contain a particular type of food distribution that is uncommon in natural environments. Food waste tends to accumulate in predictable locations: bins behind houses, trash bags placed near curbs, compost piles, outdoor pet food bowls, and occasionally fallen fruit from backyard trees. Each of these contains energy that requires relatively little search effort. In natural habitats, insects, larvae, and small animals may be scattered unevenly across large areas. Finding them requires extended digging and exploration. In contrast, residential waste areas concentrate food remnants into small zones that can be revisited. The presence of these concentrated food sources changes the balance between search cost and reward. A skunk moving through a suburban block may encounter several potential food locations within a short distance. Even if each location provides only a small amount of edible material, the cumulative energy gain can exceed what would be obtained from searching a larger natural area. When the effort required to locate food decreases, the strategy becomes viable even for animals that move slowly. However, residential environments also introduce risks that influence how skunks move through them. Artificial lighting is one constraint. Street lights and porch lights create patches of visibility that make animals easier to detect. Skunks often move along the edges of these illuminated areas, rather than through the brightest sections. They travel close to fences, shrubs, and walls, where shadows remain deeper. This pattern reduces exposure, while the animal moves between potential food sources. Domestic dogs introduce another constraint. Dogs represent one of the few animals in residential environments that regularly initiate close encounters with skunks. Because dogs often roam in fenced yards or accompany humans during evening walks, skunks must navigate neighborhoods while minimizing contact with them. Nighttime again reduces this risk. Many dogs are indoors overnight, and outdoor activity declines sharply compared with daytime hours. Traffic patterns also shape movement timing. During early evening, vehicle flow through residential streets may remain steady. Headlights create sudden bursts of light and noise that disrupt animal movement. After midnight, traffic usually drops. Roads that were previously barriers become easier to cross. For an animal that typically moves at a walking pace, crossing safely depends on these quieter intervals. The physical layout of neighborhoods also influences skunk movement. Yards, fences, hedges, and narrow gaps between buildings create protected pathways. These pathways function like corridors that allow animals to move between food locations without entering open areas. A skunk traveling along a fence line can remain partially concealed while passing several houses in sequence. If the fence continues across multiple properties, the animal may follow it as a stable route night after night. Within these corridors, the skunk's foraging behavior follows a repeated sequence. The animal approaches an area where food might be present, pauses to investigate using smell, and decides whether to dig or manipulate nearby objects. Trash bags may be nudged if they contain accessible scraps. Soil near gardens may be scratched briefly to uncover insects or larvae. The process is usually short. If the expected food is not present, the skunk continues toward the next location. This pattern of brief investigation, followed by slow travel, reflects a balance between time and exposure. Remaining too long in one place increases the chance of disturbance. Moving too quickly risks overlooking hidden food. The skunk's pace therefore remains moderate. Each stop gathers information through smell, before the animal continues along its route. Seasonal conditions can influence how often skunks rely on residential areas. During warmer months, insects are abundant in natural habitats, and skunks may spend more time searching lawns or soil for larvae. However, residential areas still offer concentrated food opportunities. When insect availability declines, the relative value of food waste becomes greater. Trash bins and compost piles can provide energy. When natural prey becomes less predictable, weather conditions can also shape nightly activity. Heavy rain or extreme cold may reduce foraging efficiency. Under these conditions, skunks often shorten their travel distance, or delay movement. Residential environments sometimes soften these conditions slightly. Buildings and fences reduce wind exposure, and paved surfaces hold heat longer than open soil. These differences can make nighttime movement more manageable. During marginal weather, despite these advantages, residential foraging remains a compromise. Skunks entering neighborhoods gain access to concentrated food, but they also encounter hazards such as vehicles, barriers, and human disturbance. The behavior persists because the energy gained from these food sources often outweighs the costs. When movement occurs during the quietest hours of the night, skunks rarely remain in one yard for long. Their movement tends to follow loose circuits across several blocks. An individual may visit a sequence of locations over multiple nights, returning to areas where food was previously found. This pattern allows the animal to exploit temporary resources, while avoiding prolonged exposure in any single place. If a bin no longer contains accessible waste, the skunk simply continues to the next location. Over time, these circuits become stable routines. The skunk learns which areas frequently contain food, and which routes allow safer travel. Residential landscapes, although built for human use, unintentionally create repeating patterns of shelter, corridors, and food concentrations. When these patterns align with the animal's need to reduce risk while maintaining energy intake, nighttime foraging near homes becomes a workable strategy. Seen from the perspective of the animal's constraints, the behavior becomes easier to understand. A slow-moving mammal with strong scent detection, moderate digging ability, and chemical deterrence, as its main defense must minimize encounters while still obtaining enough energy. Nighttime neighborhoods provide a temporary environment where those requirements can be balanced. The disturbances visible in early morning shifted lids, scattered wrappers, small patches of disturbed soil are traces of this process. They indicate that the animal moved through the area during a period when the cost of movement was lowest. As long as the environment continues to offer accessible food with manageable risk, the pattern of nighttime visits can continue night after night.